Hello, everyone. My name is Sheikh Al-Tamimi. I'm part of the Dubai Future Foundation, and I think we'll go ahead and start, and then whoever will be joining will be signed in automatically. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Sheikh Al-Tamimi, and today we'll be going through the challenge webinar, focusing on future of courts, of course, with Dubai DIFC Courts. Okay, just before we start, I wanted to let everyone know that this webinar will be recorded and will be shared with interested startups and scale-ups. So it will be posted on our website, on YouTube as well. So for today's agenda, we'll go ahead and have an introduction about Dubai Future Foundation and Dubai Future Accelerators, of course. And then I'll go ahead and hand it to my colleagues from the DIFC Courts to talk more about the entity itself, the challenge details. And of course, we'll also have a part where we talk about the program design, opportunity, and timelines. And towards the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and submit them throughout the presentation, or you can wait to the end of the slides. Okay, so about Dubai Future Foundation, it's basically an initiative from the government of Dubai. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid wanted to create an entity that oversees the future. So mainly an entity that embraces future foresight, future shaping, and all of that. Hence, Dubai Future Foundation was created back in 2016. And it's basically an entity that focuses on imagining, designing, and executing the future. These three elements are basically the structure of the foundation. We have different initiatives within the foundation itself. And of course, Dubai Future Accelerators was only one of them. And what is Dubai Future Accelerators? It's basically, if you want to think about it, it's a platform that connects different government entities or private entities or even semi-private entities, organizations from Dubai, and we connect them with different startups or scale-ups from different countries. And what we do is we work closely with these entities, and then we basically help them define their challenges. And then once we agree on a challenge, we post it, and then startups and companies from different countries would apply to be selected. And we have a couple of statistics here. Again, basically what we do is we build partnerships between UAE government or private entities with companies from different countries. And ever since we started, we have had more than 180 MOUs signed, a total of 290 participating companies. And of course, that's even adding up as we go with different programs. We have had 89 pilot projects from different countries, and I think it's more than 40 different countries overall. I'll just share a couple of success stories from our outcomes from DFA. So this is Solavio. They worked closely with Dubai Health Authority. Basically, they conducted a pilot project with them, with DIWA specifically, to help clean the solar panels. And it was successful. It was a successful pilot, and DIWA saved 260,000 liters of water per annum. And of course, another example would be with another entity, Dubai Health Authority. This is a company called P4ML. And what they basically did is they worked closely with different hospitals, both private and government hospitals, with different groups of women and children as well, just to conduct their pilot. And it was one of our successful pilots from our outcomes from the DFA program. I won't take too long. I'll hand it now to my colleagues from DIFC, Amna Al-Awais. Amna will be sharing and talking more about DFC Courts. Yes,
thank you very much, Sheikha and the DFF team for hosting us and allowing this opportunity. Just for you to know, I cannot switch my camera on or video. I think the host needs to do so. So I will wait for that, or do you want me to start?
You can go ahead now, Amna. I think you
can. So thank you again, Dubai Future Foundation team, for allowing this opportunity and this project to kick off. It has been there with us for a few years, and we signed our partnership back in 2019. And now we're very happy and proud to see that the first world's Cortex Initiative has finally launched. And we are really proud to see the participation and everyone's interest in this Cortex accelerator. I would like to give everyone some background about who we are and what we do. I'm sure many of the attendees today have never heard of the DIFC Courts before. So we are part of the Dubai International Financial Center. It's a financial free zone. Back in the days when the court, or let's say the whole center was established, research has been done with overseas participants, investors, institutional, let's say research has been done. And one of the main requirements for international investors is to find a location in the world that is neutral and a place that is familiar to them. And that is why at that point it was decided to create the DIFC courts within the DIFC to create the familiarity and to provide the certainty and trust that businesses need. So we are a court system like any other court. We issue judgments like other courts. Many people mistaken us with the arbitration center. So we are a normal court, judgments, judges, the whole batch of, let's say, facilities and characteristics of any court system. But we are a really cutting edge court, a court that is flexible, young, and really are interested into the innovation, let's say, sector. And one of our main pillars is actually innovation. And we as a court, we've been really working hard within our digital transformation since 2009. And actually, even when the pandemic hit, we were very ready for any, let's say, the changes and the challenges that we faced. And within 24 hours, all of the operations of the courts transformed into fully online, whether it's operations of the courts or the core business, the hearings and the cases and so forth. And in terms of the Cortex Initiative, it actually sits under the Courts of the Future. So we have an initiative that has started back in 2017, again with our partners, the Dubai Future Foundation. And through that, we were really able to create the think tank to see what sorts of future disputes will end up in the courts, not just like physically how the courts look like, because we already have the future here today with all of the technologies available. It's really about the mindset. It's about the, the readiness that we can have in terms of handling future disputes, whether 3D printing, autonomous vehicles, and so forth. So we as a court, we're very capable and have the credibility and infrastructure that can allow us to handle such disputes. So under the Courts of the Future, we have many initiatives, and our special initiative is the Cortex Lab. And the idea behind it is to really get into the ecosystem of the courts, understand what are the challenges of court systems. And through the DIFC courts, we will provide the ecosystem, we will provide the challenges. And today, our head of IT, will take you through all of the challenges. With that, I thank everyone's participation, and I look forward to the next phase of our Cortex Lab. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amna. I'll hand it now to Arul.
Good morning, good afternoon, based on your time zones. Thank you very much for joining with us. Thank you, DFF team, and thank you, Amna, for the introduction. So as Amna mentioned, actually, DIFC Courts is completely, DIFC Courts services is completely offered online. So, if you are consuming a court service, like filing a case, progressing a case with DIFC Courts and getting a judgment or an order from DIFC Courts, you will be able to obtain the entire service online. And one of the DIFC Courts auxiliary services, DIFC Courts will service. And again, actually, the individuals are, families who's living in UAE and who's non-Muslim, who wants to have their wishes to be fulfilled after their life. They can register their will with DIFC Courts under the DIFC Courts will service. And the registration, starting from drafting your will and registering your will with DIFC Courts, the entire journey is automated and available online to receive the service from DIFC Courts. So as Amna mentioned, due to those extensive digitalization or automation implementations we have done, we were not down in because of the pandemic or any of those situations. We even have 24/7 support available for any emergency filings or registrations. So we are almost available 24/7 anywhere in the world. Whoever wants to have a court service, if they are eligible to obtain the service from DIFC Courts. So part of that whole digitization or moving online process, one of the key challenge we were facing is actually the identifying the individuals who's participating in those services. Especially when it comes to wills, we wanted to be 100% sure the individual who's registering their will with us is actually who they are and whom they are claiming to be. We currently have a method. We use the traditional verification process, like they show us the government issued ID on the registration as part of the registration process. And the registry officer will verify their document and confirm them, okay, whom you are is actually who you are, and we continue the registration and complete the registration. But there is no 100% certainty we can create from that procedural verification what we are doing. In addition to that, sometimes the internet bandwidth might be bad, or the cameras they are using might be bad. The registry officer may not be able to view the identity information very clearly. So we wanted to eliminate this situation. We wanted to have a stable system which can 100% foolproof, or the maximum capacity to the foolproof, and we should be able to verify their identity. That is the challenge one which we are trying to solve. So, as I mentioned, actually, there is no formal way of verifying. We just use the traditional methods to verify their identities. And poor internet connections or, their cameras can put us in trouble. And that is actually, a reputation damage to the organization, as well as actually, it could be damaging at the time of actually probate process. So because, the testator registers the will, he or she may not be available at the time of, for sure they will not be available at the time of executing the will. So it will be very hectic process for the families to go through if the identities are not verified. Shikha, can we go next one? So why this is very important, as Amna said, actually, we are a court with the ability of having opt-in jurisdiction. So, we don't really have customers only from DIFC or only from UAE. If anyone in the, anywhere in the other side of the world, opt into DIFC Courts by adding a contract clause saying that actually, in the event of dispute between us, we will go to DIFC Courts and resolve our dispute. Then they can come to us for obtain that service. So we use local national ID, or we use local government ID verification processes that will limit us verifying the IDs of our international customers. So we really wanted to have something, a solution which can include international customers and international audience. And that is the reason, actually, that is one of the major reason why we are trying to solve this issue. And the other issues which is listed here are also one of the reasons why we wanted to achieve this challenge to be resolved. The next one is actually, as Amna mentioned, one of the 4 pillars is service excellence. We wanted to offer our services to be best in class for anyone who is actually wanted to have access with DIFC Courts. So one of the court offering is small claims tribunal, which is actually up to 500,000 dirhams, in USD $125,000. If both the parties agrees, it can go up to $1 million. Sorry, 1 million dirhams. And the individuals who bring their case to DIFC Courts self-represented. They don't bring lawyers. They may not be having a legal experience or legal background, but they struggle to understand the legal proceedings, or the legal terminologies used in the website, or static contents they receive from Google or any other site. So we wanted to create a simplified user journey to obtain the information they want and have them the ability to file the claim and represent themselves to the court more confidently for their cases, and they should be able to achieve their justice they are seeking for. So we wanted to develop a, it could be a step-by-step wizard, or it could be a a chatbot, which is helping them to build the claim, and help them continue the case progression. But we would like to have a advanced capability which helps them confidently self-represent themselves to DIFC courts and obtain the judgment or the justice they are seeking to. That is actually one of the challenges we are trying to solve. The current website already holds flowcharts and the, simplified forms for them to file the claims, but still we are keep seeing a lot of issues when they try filing the claim, or when the case is progressing. So we are trying to resolve that challenge as well as part of this cohort. And again, that is also very important from a brand as DIFC Courts, which is offering services for international customers. And second most important is actually, as access to justice, we believe more simplified the journey is, actually they will be able to get more fairer experience with the court. So these are the two challenges we are trying to solve as part of this cohort, and open for any questions, and we will take it forward.
Thank you, Arul. I think I'll hand it to my colleague Natasha now. She'll talk more about the process and how to get involved, the challenges. Natasha.
Thank you so much, Sheikha. Arul, thank you so much for the detailed explanation of the challenges. Amna, thank you for giving an insight into DIFC Courts and all the great work that you do. Now that we all have understood the role of the DIFC Courts, and we've also understand the key innovation challenges that they want to address at the moment, I'm going to talk you through about how you can actually get involved. So over here, you can see the process. And first, of course, it'll be the process of applying. Now, how do you apply? You can actually create your future ID, which is going to be your personal account to all Dubai Future Foundation services, beyond just the programs platform, which will immediately allow you to access. But you can go ahead and set up your future ID on id.dubaifuture.ae. This information will be shared with you in an email after this webinar. And once you have created your profile, you can go ahead and fill out the application. So the applications can be found on the Dubai Future Programs page. And of course, we'll send that link over to you as well. But when you fill it out, you'll see a number of different categories within the application form. We, of course, want to get to know you and your role in the organization. We then want to get a better feel for your company, kind of understand what is the core focus of your technology, where are you based, what kind of work that you do. And then, of course, the application form looks specifically into how you feel you can solve the challenge. So it's about sharing as much information as possible relevant to tying your position to the challenge. So even when filling out your company's profile, if you do a number of different things, it's worth highlighting the one that is most relevant to the challenge. Once you fill out your application, you press submit, and we will go into the hard work of shortlisting and evaluating all the applicants. Now, the great thing as an applicant is that you should have you should be able to see on the platform what stage your application is actually at. So once you press submit, you'll be able to see a few stages emerge when you log in, which shows you, okay, what stage is your application at currently. And if you see a green tick alongside that, that means that your application is still live. But the moment you start seeing a red cross, you'll see that unfortunately, your application didn't move forward from this stage. We'll, of course, be also communicating with you through emails. During this evaluation phase, of course, your application plays a really large role. And if you progress on to the next stage, there'll also be a video interview just to kind of vet and better understand the solution that you're proposing. All right. So once we finally have the top companies from the evaluations, we're going to initiate phase one. Now, to tell you a little bit more about what phase one is, it's going to be a fully virtual program. And the focus of this is for you to better understand DIFC Courts, their processes, and the challenge that they're facing. And for DIFC Courts to get a better idea of your company and the capabilities that you have, and for you to synergize on what, if you were to collaborate using your solution, what would be the proof of concept that you could do together to test your solution. In a sense, you are preparing to understand, okay, if we were to work together, how would we work together? What would be the different, capabilities that we need to kind of keep in mind? You'll be hashing that whole process out. And then all in all, preparing you for phase 2. Now, at the end of phase 1, you're going to be doing a presentation, or the shortlisted companies will get a chance to present to the decision-making team at DIFC Courts. And out of this, DIFC Courts will then choose the top company to do a proof of concept in Dubai. So that is going to be phase 2. That one company or those companies will be onboarded onto phase 2. DFA will cover flights, visas, and accommodation for the 2 participants that will be joining from that company. The reason we do this is so that there is no barriers between you actually getting an opportunity to collaborate closely with the entity. And this will be a 4-week program in Dubai. Now, the virtual phase is just 2 weeks where you're hashing out the details, and the deployment phase is actually 4 weeks. As you can see, this is quite a short timeline. So the whole idea is for you to hash out all the details before coming into Dubai and using phase 1 as to enable you to do that. Now, in phase 2, you're going to be, doing your pilot, your POC. And at the end of phase 2, DIFC Courts will then make the final decision on the companies they would like to sign with. So all in all, this is the journey. So it's applications, then we evaluate them. The shortlisted teams would be invited to join phase 1, use that as a exchange mechanism to prepare for phase 2. You pitch at the end of phase 1. If you're selected, you come to Dubai and deploy your POC. All right, we can move on to the next slide. Now, what are the benefits of this program? Okay, not only through this program, you get access to the top level stakeholders in the UAE, in this case, DIFC Courts, but you also get direct access to the key decision makers. What's great about this is actually a brief sprint, in a sense, to kind of gauge if there is a scope for collaborating with an entity. And the great thing is, while we provide this platform, Dubai Future Foundation takes zero equity in your business, unlike other accelerators. We also cover the round-trip airfare for you to come to Dubai, and cover the accommodation and visa costs associated. Now, once you do make it to Dubai, if we could move on to the next stage, you actually have the opportunity to the next slide, Sheikha. You have the opportunity to be part of one of the most vibrant ecosystems in the region. So Dubai Future Foundation, there are a number of innovation labs there. Our ecosystem is called Area 2071. You will definitely learn a lot more about that. But within this space, we also have creative workspace, and you have access to prototyping equipment. We also have the Dubai Future Lab. We also have a 3D printing lab, a lot of exciting kind of opportunities here to enable you to achieve what you would like. And then also you would have the opportunity to be nominated for the Golden Visa. And you, depending on your requirements, we can also connect you to the regional investors within our network if there's a mutual fit. And of course, if you're looking at setting up locally in Dubai to, looking to do business here actively, we can also, through our partners, help you set up your company and share with you all the relevant details that you may need to be successful. All right. I think I'll hand it back to you, Sheikha.
Yes, thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Arul and Amna. So now we'll have the Q&A session. So I think we have 7 questions submitted. So I'll just be reading them through, and then Arul or Natasha can help me based on the question. Okay, so we have the first question. does a will in Dubai, Arul, this is directed to you. So does a will in Dubai need to be witnessed by another person? Arul, you're muted, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Just added
I can hear you now.
Nilofer, can you unmute and answer that, please? I'm sorry. Since this is a
yes,
process.
sorry, I was muted. Yes, the will does need to be witnessed. It needs to be witnessed by two people, actually. Both people must be over the age of 21, and there's a requirement that they must not be beneficiaries or guardians in the will, or spouses of beneficiaries or guardians, and they must have a valid piece of photo ID. In most cases, we would just do the passport, but sometimes if someone doesn't have a passport, we can take their Emirates ID or a driver's license, anything that has their photo and name and date of birth on it.
Thank you, Nilofer. Another question from Rudy. So you mentioned the maximum claim value. Can you please elaborate or confirm this?
Haley, can you? So we have two challenge champions. So Nilofer looks after the wills registry. She's part of the wills registry, and Haley is from the courts registry. She looks after the small claims tribunal. So I leave it to Haley to answer that.
Thank you, Arul. Good afternoon, everyone. Sure, so when it comes to the financial limitations, so the Small Claims Tribunal was set up to help those with claims that can go up to the value of 500,000 dirham, so 500,000 dirham. There are slight nuances to that. So, for example, I think at the beginning you were informed that we are effectively an opt-in jurisdiction. So in that scenario, parties can choose to use us, even if they're based outside of the DIFC. And they can also choose to up that limitation cap. So that the general position is if your claim is 500,000 dirham or below, automatically your claim would be swept into the Small Claims Tribunal. But you can opt, so you can elect to still have your dispute heard within the Small Claims Tribunal up to the value of 1 million dirham if both of the parties agree within their contract that that is the limitation they wish to take it up to 1 million. But the general position is 500,000 dirham.
Thank you, Haley. So I'll just be reading the questions. Whoever it is directed to, Haley or Nilofer, please just feel free to jump in. Another question, when you say claimants need guidance and support with the claim, what do you exactly mean by this? How is this support provided currently for claimants?
Sure. So the Small Claims Tribunal was set up in such a way that parties will represent themselves. So to that extent, obviously, we don't have lawyers within the tribunal. So a party would physically appear, whether that be remotely or actually in person at the courts, and represent themselves. But of course, you've got the whole process of a claim. So you've got the initial filing of a claim where a party would have to state, what it is that they're seeking. If it's a monetary claim, how much money do they believe they're entitled to? What is the legal basis of their claim? And in that regard, parties need support. They need to understand what information they should be including within their case. What forms do they use? How much money would they pay to the court to start a case for the first time? As court officers, we do try to assist parties as much as possible, but of course we have to retain the neutrality of the court. So the advice that we can give always has to be slightly limited. And we sort of have to, stand back and take a slightly neutral stance. So as much as possible, we need to give guidance and support effectively for the entire life of the case. So as I say, which form would somebody fill out? Where would they even go on the website to understand how to file a case? It would almost be a step-by-step journey from the very beginning to the very end. if they were to receive a judgment, for example, what would they then do with that judgment? I think it would be a lot of sort of questions and answers that somebody would have to think back and forth. If they were a first-time user, would they understand how to process a claim through the Small Claims Tribunal? I think something else that's quite important to understand is obviously Dubai is known for being very cosmopolitan, and particularly within the Dubai International Financial Free Zone, we have a number of nationalities that come together. And obviously to that extent, not everybody might have English as their native language. And we are an English-speaking common law court. So as much as possible, we do try to sort of facilitate and perhaps put things into layman's terminology to help those where perhaps English isn't their first language. So I think that would be an added factor as well.
Thank you, Haley. We have one more question from the same person. So are you looking for established, tried and tested technology, or are you looking for an applicant company to develop a bespoke solution?
I think I'll take that if that's okay. All right, so basically, as you saw the program design, so we're looking at 2 weeks to kind of understand the full scope of the requirements and to present your solution, to tailor it, and 4 weeks for a rollout. From what you can see, it's very much we're looking at direct owners of the technology. So it might be a company that has is currently prototyping or has already let's have a product for market which is focused on being able to solve these challenges. The time frame itself is quite short for it to be bespoke, but what we do want to see is that an openness to integrate, to maybe build on your current services to basically tailor for it to meet the requirements of DIFC Court. What we're not looking for are, let's say, third-party solution providers who can, let's say, provide a solution from their, let's say, arsenal of different technologies that they represent. What we are looking at is working with the, let's say, the innovative companies themselves and collaborating with them to design something that works for the DIFC Court. Arul, would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, when we started the Cortex Lab initiative itself, we are very well aware that there is no ready-made products available specifically for courts. There are a lot of legal tech or law firm focused on lawyer focused products are out there, but there is not many focused for courts. And that was one of the reasons we positioned this idea along with DFF. So as Natasha said, the time frame is short. Also, we are opening the door for the solutions, which is at least the ready to go to market level is there, and they want the ecosystem of a court to test it. That is what we can offer. But we, as we have full-time responsibilities, it would be too much for us to spend on a just an idea. We can't convert them to the solution within the time frame we have. So in that way, actually, you should have something ready. But if it's actually the integration or customization to integrate with our existing platforms, we are open for it. We are happy to accommodate those requests.
Thank you, Arul and Natasha. Another question from Samir. What is the annual number of cases or claims under DIFC?
With reference to the Small Claims Tribunal, which specifically this project would be focused on, we had just shy of 500 claims filed last year, and we're on track for a similar number this year.
Okay, another question from Samir. So any specific technology platform is favored or restricted as for front end and back end as concerned?
No, these challenges are completely independent. We are technology neutral.
Okay, does the size of the startup matter for your selection?
I think if I was to just add to that, I believe it's from a delivery perspective, it just has to be with regards to the capacity of your team. If there's only one full-time member within your team, as long as you can prove that you can give the allocated time and meet the timelines and things, so it just needs to be something that as long as you have to prove that you have capacity within the team, because we do want to work closely with you to see impact. And if we don't have that capacity, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Arul, if you'd like to add something to that.
No, that is exactly what I was. Thank you.
Okay, next question. What are the top pain points that current users face in your current system?
Not sure which challenge they are referring to. If it is related to the SCT, as we said, actually, the information what we have is static text. So, like Haley mentioned, it's more, the terminologies are not really suitable for a layman who's actually filing a small claim. It's very hard to understand and, take the procedure as per the requirement of SCT.
Okay, we have another question. So can you briefly take us through the existing process that you have that someone needs to file a case or a claim?
Sure, happy to do so. I can share my screen if that's an option. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
I think you do. 1 second. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So to file a claim, everything is filed through the website. So we would go on to difccourts.ae, and then you can see down here we have this icon, file a claim. So we click here. And then we have obviously different courts depending on the remedy that you're seeking and the value of your claim. So as I identified earlier, anything below the value of 500,000 dirham would fall within the auspices of the Small Claims Tribunal. So we would click here. And then this brings you through to all of the relevant forms that relate specifically to the Small Claims Tribunal. And if an individual wanted to file a case for the first time, they would click this button here, Small Claims Tribunal Claim Form P53. And this would then generate the form that an individual would have to fill out. We have tried to make it sort of simple in nature, but obviously there is still legalese in there. So an individual filing the case would be identified as a claimant, and they would fill out personal information, their name, their address, and so forth. As we scroll down, obviously the opposing party, so the individual or the company that they're bringing a case against would be the defendant. And again, identifying information. The individual would be required to specify the type of claim that they're bringing to the court. So they'd have to identify that. And then the particulars of claim, the individual would have to state what is their claim, what is it that they are seeking, and they would have the opportunity to upload submissions in support of their claim. The individual would have to specify what is the jurisdiction. So again, as we said at the beginning, we are effectively a free zone court. So certain cases would come to the DIFC courts specifically because the individual or the company is actually based within the geographical zone of the DIFC. But if a party were based outside of the free zone, then they would opt in. I think you've heard us sort of using this phrase a few times now today. They would opt into our jurisdiction. So again, an individual would have to understand, what do both of these mean, which is most appropriate for their case. They would have to specify the remedy. So effectively, what is it that they are hoping to achieve? What is the result that they want? Is it money? Is it a cancellation of a visa? Is it an extension of a property lease? Whatever it is, they have to specify here. They are required to state what their claim value is. Obviously, being an international commercial court, we work in both dirham and USD, and they would populate the value here. By doing so, this would then calculate the court fee that an individual would have to pay to open their case for the first time. We once again give them the opportunity to upload submissions if they've already exhausted the maximum limitation above. By filing everything electronic, obviously we still need to sort of be confident and understand that everything they are providing us is in fact true. So we ask that they sort of electronically sign, if you like, the statement of truth. And just some further identifying information, and then they would press submit. So everything is conducted through the website on a sort of one-time only basis. And once the individual presses submit, they would then receive an invoice to their email where they would make payment of that court fee to open their court case.
Thank you, Hayley.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll just close the question and I'll pull my screen back. Okay, so we have another question. Okay, can overseas companies participate without an existence in the UAE?
I mean, if this is meant for the program, then yes. So if you are a company based outside the UAE and you currently do not have a registered company here or any, let's say, active business here, we still invite you to apply for the challenge.
And I think there's a follow-up question to that. It's physical existence is required, then what assistance can be provided? Basically, from our side, from DFA's side, if you will to be selected to be part of the challenges, we cover visas, accommodation, and flights for 2 individuals from the company. Okay, another question. This is directed to DIFC Courts. Are we supposed to provide or develop some IT solutions?
Sorry, Sheikha, can you repeat the question?
Are we supposed to provide or develop some IT solutions for DIFC Courts?
Of course, both the solutions, challenges are, only can be addressed only through IT solutions. Really sorry, maybe I didn't capture that question correctly. Because we are trying to solve a technology challenge, technology-dependent challenge. So, I believe it can be solved only through IT solution.
Okay, another question from Rudy. So you mentioned 2 witnesses. Can you verify them? Do we need to verify them?
So at the moment, the only verification process we have is at the time of the registration appointment. All the parties, so the testator, who is the person who's registering the will, and the 2 witnesses will need to show us a piece of ID, passport or Emirates ID. And we ask them to just hold it up in front of the camera, and all of our registration calls are being recorded. So their ID is recorded in the call as well. Along with that, they also do need to submit the copies of their IDs prior to the registration appointment when they're completing all the details and submitting the will to us. But that is, I guess, one of the issues that we wish to address through this challenge. So we would like to have a more, I guess, a more foolproof way of verifying someone, because like I said, at the moment, all they have to do is hold up their ID. And as Arul mentioned at the beginning, that you know, sometimes the internet connection might be weak, or the person might not have the best camera on their device that they're using. So all of that kind of prevents us from looking at the ID clearly. So I guess that's one of the solutions we're looking for now.
There's a follow-up question to this. Would you want claimant's ID to be verified digitally before, when they submit a claim?
At the moment, no, but you know, if the digital identity verification challenge which we are trying to address demands such process, then we will look into it.
Okay, so I think we've answered this. My solution for the challenge is an idea stage. May I participate? And if should I set up a company? Yeah, Arul, I think you've answered this, but would you want to add anything?
No, nothing from me. Maybe Natasha.
Yeah, so basically, given the duration of the program is quite tight, and you know, it really depends on if you already have a team set up. So it's really just a time thing and a capacity thing. So if it's just an idea and there is no, let's say, frameworks created on how it would potentially be, you know, developed, it might be very tricky to do it within the capacity that's provided. Now, if in the case that you do have a prototype or an MVP that you want to test out, that is a little bit more, that is more exciting, because we can imagine that to be more fulfilling and to be able to see actual impact and a POC by the end of a 4-week period. So if you have a prototype, or if you have a product ready for market, or a product in the market, this is probably the best stages for you, and the program will be better fit to your requirements. Also, if you do not have a company set up in the UAE, that's perfectly fine. And as long as if this is something, if you are set up elsewhere, that's perfect. But if in the case that you have not set up a company at all, but you do have an MVP or a product ready for market, we can actually support you with this and setting up your company rather quickly in the UAE. But you know, that's if you have a company name, etc., because that's stuff that is already required for the application form. So yes, definitely something you should still go ahead and apply with your solutions. And if in the case that there are some details that we need to hash out, if you are selected, then we can definitely look into that at a later stage.
Thank you, Natasha. So another question from Devesh. Will an image processing or OCR solution help in this engagement?
I believe that is related to the identity verification, but OCR alone will not solve the problem. That is what I feel. But if we can, you know, if he can elaborate the solution in a later stage, we can look at the application and decide.
Okay, I'm just scrolling through the questions. Okay, what is the notarization process? Are digital signatures done remotely valid?
Sorry, Nili.
Yes, so the digital signatures are valid. All of the wills are signed electronically on a touchscreen device. So the person that is signing will need either a phone or a tablet or an iPad, and they would draw in their signature at the time of the registration appointment. And once that's done, we attach the 3 signatures. So one of the testator and then the 2 witnesses. And we also attach an electronic DIFC Courts seal onto the will. So that is held as the original copy of the will. It's encrypted and saved in the DIFC Courts' electronic database. And the testator, right after the registration, will have the option of downloading a copy of that will. So they also have a copy with the signatures and the seal. And I think the other part of that question was about notarization. We don't need the wills to be notarized for the DIFC Courts. So the signed copy that we allowed the testator to save, that is the final version of the will. There's nothing further that they need to do after that.
Just to add to that, the electronic signature used in this use case is actually on real time. So, our DIFC Courts wills registry officer will be witnessing the testator, and the witness signs the document electronically in front of them. It's not an offline electronic signature.
Thank you. For the next question, I think, Natasha, this is for you. How many finalists will be selected for phase 2?
All right. In the current program design, we'd be looking at having one finalist for each of the challenges in its current design.
And the next question, I think it's a generic or a general question. Do we have central will bank in Dubai?
At the moment, we don't. So if a will is registered with the DIFC Courts, it is only saved in our electronic database. There's no central registry at the moment.
Okay, I think this is the last question. Do envisage, I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly, do envisage the support and guidance to be provided by an AI-based support assistant, so digitally automated? I think the question is broken, but I think if anyone can pick up anything from that.
Yeah, and I think it's for the small claims. So if I think they're asking if an AI-based support assistant was to be created, would that be what you would be looking for?
Yes, we are, like in the beginning, what we mentioned, actually, we are not technology specific. We are technology neutral to any solution proposed. If it is an AI-based solution will solve the challenge which we published, we're happy to take that forward as well.
This is the last question. So is the UAE KYC blockchain platform being applied in the current process of DIFC Courts?
No. As I mentioned in the beginning when we explained the challenge, we have international users who's using the platform to register their wills and protect their investments in UAE. So we cannot, or we have very high limitation if we use UAE's identity platform. So we want something which can support international community of customers.
Okay, that was the last question from the Q&A section. Thank you, Arul. Thank you, Amna, Haley, Nilofer, Natasha, of course, for putting together the webinar. This is the last slide basically for today. The application deadline would be the 18th of November, midnight in UAE time. And of course, if you want to submit an application, you need to visit our website. And if you have any queries or any follow-up questions, you can drop an email to this email address shown on the screen. And of course, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And again, we will be sharing the future ID link. So just after this webinar, you'll receive an email from us with a thank you note, and of course, these little details as well. But that brings us to the end of the webinar. Anyone from the team that wants to add anything?
Sheikha, I'd just like to add, when we say 18th of November midnight, what we actually mean is the 17th of November end of day. So just keep in mind that if you're based in the UAE by 11:59 UAE time PM, you should submit your application, as we'll be closing on the strike of midnight.
Thank you, Natasha. Anyone else? Arul, Amna, Haley, Nilofer, do you guys want to add anything before we end the session?
No, thank you very much for setting up this webinar, and thank you everyone for participating and the amazing questions. We look forward to the applications.
Likewise, thank you everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. And again, the webinar was recorded and will be uploaded on our website and on our YouTube. So yeah, if you missed anything, you can just review the recording again. But yeah, thank you, everyone. We're ending the session now, but I'll leave the slide here just for you to capture the email address and the website. Thank you again, everyone.